What's this big ditch for? We're giving you money, we're repairing your house, we're so good. There's a lot of dry matter here at the moment. 20 plus people perished because of these bloody fires. And there has been fires through here before as well. You are the most disgusting, awful people in the world. G'day, I'm Mark from Self-sufficiency. A lot of you guys have been voicing your concern and also sending your best wishes to myself personally via Facebook, underneath videos in the comment section, and also via email due to the bushfire situation here in Australia. And I thank you all for those kind messages of support and concern. In this video, what I want to do is just let you guys know how the fires are impacting on our property in particular. I'll give a general snapshot of what's going on. Let's get into it. Now you can probably see, or you might be able to, the chickens in the background digging up all the leaf matter. There's a lot of dry matter here at the moment. That's typical for most of Australia. We've moved into summer, but our dry springs, which is usual for especially this region, have turned into dry summers. Usually we'll have a dry spring and that'll turn into a fairly wet summer here. If we have a really wet spring and a wet summer, we can typically have flooding, and it goes the opposite. And whilst the chickens might be happy digging through all this dry leaf matter and grass, it's not good if a fire started in the bushland behind us. Obviously, all that will do is add fuel to the fire and make this place burn like crazy. But having said that, in this part of the world, we have had a little bit of rain lately, and that's greened the place up amazingly. Within just a few weeks, they're good signs. When you've got high humidity, a lot of moisture in the air, lots of green growth, that tends to help mitigate against fire and fire starting and fire spreading. So that's a good sign for us. And the other thing that's helped is the bushland behind us has been burnt back or back burnt by the authorities or the landowners. Last year in winter, we got a letter from the property owners saying that back burning would be taking place, or some burning would be taking place, and they gave us a heads up. And sure enough, they were out here burning back and burning all excess wood and undergrowth, or as much as possible. You're not going to get it all, of course, but burning back like that in a cool time of the year when the fire isn't going to get out of control is probably the best way to stop major disasters or bigger and worse fires than they should be. And the people managing the bushland behind us have also cut an access road / fire break between our property and theirs. It's about 10 or 15, maybe 20 metres wide in places, and that also helps. If that bushland catches fire, it gives us a bit of a chance for that fire not to access our property. I mean, it still might, but it at least has a buffer zone there, and also allows for access so that the fireys and all of us can start fighting that fire at the front rather than it just whipping through, taking hold of our property and ultimately maybe our house. This is what I'm talking about, but I'm going to push you back a bit and show you. Well, this is the access road. You can see where they've pushed it all apart. They've mowed down all the trees. This used to be as thick as it in there, but a big bulldozer come through and just smashed it all down. But anyway, let me take you back, and this is what I want to show you. What's this big ditch for? See how huge it is. So I get it, there's a road here now, right next to our fence line, and I get that that's probably for access, but why did they have to cut such a big ditch? and then they've pushed it up against that side, against the forest, and then they've leveled it off here as best as they could. Is there a reason for that big hole there? I mean, that's just going to fill with water. This is a really low area, and when it does rain through our summer, whenever it does, and we get a good downpour, which will happen, I'm sure of it, we will get a hammer down soon, and when it does, that ditch there is going to fill with water. I can't wait to get ducks. We'll put them in there and they'll have a ball. We did have ducks at one stage, and we will get them again. That's something happening this year. That's beside the point. I don't get it. Is that a stuff up? Have they moved all that soil? And this is my assumption. Did they just gouge all that out, put that soil there to even out that low ground, make sure it's hard standing for vehicles to get all the way around? And they saw that as a trouble spot. And did they just grab it and dig it from there and put it there and not level that out and just leave it as a ditch, you know, on purpose? Or is that the only way they could have done it? I'll be interested to know what you guys think down below, especially you plant operators or engineers, you know, if that's the way that you do it. It seemed a bit bodgy to me, and I know my neighbours fairly concerned about it as well, but is that going to stop runoff from my property and make a backwater or a flood zone up further up my property when it used to just run down here into the forest, into the creek line, and then around the causeway? Yeah, I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's still a good thing because it's some sort of barrier or protection from a raging bushfire in this bushland here before it hits our place. And there has been fires through here before as well, not while we've been here in the last 13 or so years. The trees, especially the old ones, you can see the fire damage to them. It's had some rages come through here well before our house was ever there, I'd imagine. Crikey, it's hot out here, I tell ya. So we're not directly affected by the fires at this moment anyway, but a lot of people will be indirectly affected. The indirectly affected Australians is probably all of us, and might even, you know, go around the world to some places depending on exports and, you know, dollar and all that type of finance. The fuel prices will probably go up, food prices will go up depending on what crops have been damaged. At the moment, the government's talking up the big insurance companies, saying that they're going to make sure they keep an eye on the insurance companies. I mean, all that's crap. At the end of the day, I pay my insurance so that if a disaster happens, they pay up. And a good example of the indirect way we're going to pay is at the floods in 2011, and we were here, the water came up just to the bottom of the chicken pen there. So it rose up from that creek line, from the bushland. My point is, after the 2011 floods, I got a phone call about 6 months later from our insurance company, like most Australians did, especially in this area. And you know what he said? He said, "I'm sorry to inform you, Mr. Valencia, but your insurance will be going up, not a few $100s, to over $2,000, about $2,500 a year per annum. And on top of that, we had to pay a tax levy. All Australians had to pay a tax levy for the disaster as well, from memory. And depending on how much money you earned, it could be up to $1,000 or something like that. I don't remember the details exactly. But anyway, $2,000 you have to find. It's like over $200 a month extra you have to find somewhere just to pay in case your house gets flooded. And I argued with the guy. I said, "Mate, we live on top of a hill. We live on top of a knoll here. Our place is a prime example. At the worst of the floods, at the worst time, the best it could do was get up a few metres into our property. And we were 100 metres away. It's not going to flood. Our house is not going to flood." And he said, Sorry about that, but we don't do individual assessments. This is a blanket thing that goes across the flood maps, and it's been all rezoned, and I can tell you that pretty much most of Queensland now is a flood zone. That's what he said. Sorry, can't help you, can't do anything more, no more negotiations. You either have insurance or you don't. And for many people, it's a don't have insurance, or for, let's say for some people it's a don't have insurance. For other people, and if something then happens, they're busted, they're gone. And then for others, it's another burden, and we can't now afford the mortgage because we can't afford the insurance, and mortgage is always linked to home insurance. We can't afford the costs anymore. We now have to sell our home, forego our mortgage, forego our repayments, go under, and then get into a rental somewhere. I guarantee you, the government, the insurance agencies, they're all running on a PR campaign now. We're giving you money, we're repairing your house, we're so good. You just wait until 6 months later after this, and then we'll start getting hit with the real costs of it. And they'll recoup all their money and probably more than that for their shareholders and for their CEOs and their executives. That's what'll happen. Sorry to be a downer on that. I'm just being real. I might just add to those people who are looting at the moment through those burnt homes and stealing people's property from those who are unfortunate enough to have their houses burned down or lose loved ones. You are the most disgusting, awful people in the world. That's as bad as murder in my book, that you should prey on someone's vulnerability and low point in their life. And when they're confused, sad, distressed, lost people and property, you should go around to take an opportunity to dig that knife in deeper. That is a disgrace, and we should all condemn those type of people to hell. So the fires are personal for us. We know people who have gone through the fires at the moment, on going through the fires. There's plenty of pictures on our personal Facebook. My wife comes from down south there in the Bermagui-Cobargo region, where it has been decimated. I know Bermagui was set up as an emergency centre for evacuations and all that. It's just been horrendous down there in all those parts, Victoria, New South Wales, and all around Australia. I just want to say our thoughts go out to those who have lost loved ones, lost property. I think there's been about 1 million animals killed as a result of the fires. There's been about 2,000 homes and businesses lost around Australia. There's been 20 plus people perish because of these bloody fires. So I'm very sorry. I know words, you know, they're not like helpful, they're not hands on the ground, but I would encourage people to donate. If they want to give a few dollars, I'll put some links below in the description. Look, to those who say words are meaningless, I'll dispute that really quickly and just say words aren't meaningless. Words can be uplifting, and if more and more people, I mean, just think what a pat on the back is like, or what a hug is like, what someone talking to you and commiserating with you is like. Words do help. So words are not meaningless, and the more people that reach out, like everyone's been doing, to those poor people who have been so immediately affected directly by the fires, I think that helps a great deal. So thank you, and thanks for worrying about me. Like I said, we're not directly affected by these fires. Hopefully we won't become directly affected by them. If we do, I'll let you guys know, but I think we'll be in the clear, especially once the monsoon hits from up north, comes through, and we start to get our wet weather. We'll be pretty safe, because this will turn into a blooming quagmire and a big river down the back here, as it always does through summer. So we'll be fairly safe once that hits. It's just this unusually dry weather at the moment that is making that a problem. And the last thing I want to say is, although Australia might indeed be burning, don't put off your holidays. If you're thinking of coming to Australia from overseas, keep coming. That'll help us out even more. And it's not like the whole of Australia is levelled. It's not. There's still plenty more to see, and you can skip around these places that have been devastated or stay out of the road and go to other communities nearby, and that will still help all the community grow and help Australia get back on its feet. So don't think that, okay, Australia's buggered, we're not going there this year like we were going to. Still come. We want to see you here, and there's plenty more you can see that hasn't been devastated, believe me. All right, on that note, thanks a lot again for all your well wishes. Bye for now. So it wasn't just the chickens that were happy to see me.